Hey, I'm Taylor Dorsett, and this is the Professional Technical Interviewee. Technical interviews are hard, and every company does them differently. On this show, I interview engineering leaders to see what they look for in technical candidates, and then they perform a real technical interview with me. I hope you enjoy.
Cool. Bijan, how are you? Well, welcome to the show.
Hi, very good. How are you?
Doing well. Nice to meet you. To give you the intro, Bijan is a product manager who has a technical background. You've worked at a number of different companies in the Chicagoland area. You're recently head of product management at Wage, and then actually just joined Expedia. Did I miss anything? Anything else you want to add?
No, that's perfect. I'm really happy to be here. Excited. Just recently, I joined Expedia Group as a product manager, more so for a platform into leadership. But previously, I was at Wage. Wage was a startup, but Expedia obviously is a bigger public company. But both of the role were kind of technical product management and dealing with a lot of engineering problems and teams. Being able to build a back end for either a startup or at Expedia Group right now, I was, recruited for being a product manager at developing a Kubernetes platform. So a back end infrastructure heavy type product management.
Can you share a little bit? I guess it's kind of two questions. Can you share a little bit about your pathway into technology and how you got into tech in the first place? And then maybe a little bit about how you switched from, engineering and engineering management into more product management. And that's just something that a lot of people are thinking about now, or, maybe wanting to do themselves.
Yeah, 100%. My background was in engineering. I did civil engineering in my bachelor, and then I got my master in a data science with orientation in the transportation engineering, but then focusing on the data science side of it, and then being really deep into the data structure, algorithm, machine learning, etc. But by the background, by the trade, I was an engineer, and then really tried in the first few years of my career to try to different things, test different things. So I was able to get a job as, junior staff engineer at a small company and, get my hands dirty with, .NET framework coding and VB and, SQL and all those stuff to see what it is. And then, so as the company was growing, I was able to grow with the company, get more responsibility, and then learn the system a little bit better, and bringing in an additional leadership into my role, which was, a junior software engineer. I was able to grow in my role and then try to manage a small team of engineers on our priorities and what we try to do, and then how to go through the writing the codes or reviewing or putting system in place, and the process for if it was some reviews or QA, QC of the code. And then as this happened and the leadership of that, a small company saw this, I was able to more step into, officialize or make the software engineer manager position officially created for me and move into that role. But it was still a small company, and I was, managing a team of software engineers, but also working cross-functional with other teams, gathering requirements, or also have hands-on, coding and review the codes, and then, designing the schema and, databases, everything. But then from there, it was just like every couple of years, I have an opportunity to get to a new role from the different aspects of a technical background. So I work as a data science for government. And then while I was doing my master, I was working as a research scientist, a lot of data structure and algorithm. As I finished my master, I was able to get more into the product management. And I worked for a consultancy for a couple of years, which, the core service that they were providing was, product development for external companies. So clients would come, they need a problem, they need a product, and then we would lay out the life cycle of that product development and had, engineers in-house or offshore to be able to deliver that product and then manage it for different clients. So during that time, a lot of things was happening for different clients. So I was able to get involved with multiple projects, with multiple clients, and then learn from governmental aspects to, public Fortune 500 company to smaller clients.
Mm.
And then just recently, for the last 2 years, I was at the startup leading the whole product management for a company that didn't have an MVP, didn't have a product offering, trying to build a web app, mobile apps and the back end and the infrastructure at the same time. Yeah.
Totally greenfield. Yeah.
Yeah, totally from scratch, 0 to 1 in terms of the product that you wanted to bring to market and finding the product market fit. And then last week, I just started at Expedia as a product manager for the platform on the runtime and the Kubernetes and, things embedded into the developer platform and the engineering service at Expedia, which is really a core offering for them. And then be able to develop that Kubernetes platform for 1,400 developers that they have across the different teams, multiple time zones.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it sounds like you're when you started, although you were, an early career engineer, you really started picking up some of the more, I would say managerial, but more like business process side of things, right? Like you understood, okay, we actually need to do code review, right? We actually need to have some infrastructure in place. And then once you had been doing that for a while, then they actually said, okay, let's make you a manager because you're actually doing this job already, right? Like you're recognized in that role.
Yeah, it's a perfect way to put it. So to be honest, I was maybe a medium towards good developer. I wasn't a great or all-star developers. I didn't have the background as, a software engineer or, CS student. So I was studying civil engineering and a couple of courses related to the data structure or how to write codes and stuff. So I was always looking for something that I can pad my resume with, patch up the resume and then be active and then show my, a strength instead of the weakness into being a mediocre or medium software engineer. So I was trying to pull this in that how do I gather the requirements better, or I should go talk to different people about their needs in a small company and see how we can solve it with the software. How can we do automation? How can we, like you said, put a process in place to review the PR and then, increase the quality? And then how do we debug or how do we fix something or change management? And then the more I did that, I saw a great opportunity or a great gap into there is a stellar developers that they're great at what they do. Their code is amazing and what they build is great. But then there is a communication aspects or a business acumen aspects that it's not being communicated to the organization or the team, or there is a gap between the business need and the software that they create or the features that they try to, allocate their time and resources to. So this gap really need to be filled with either an engineer manager, or if your organization is very product oriented, for that role is like a technical product manager or just a product manager itself. So I was pulled more into that direction throughout the years.
Yeah, I think that's really useful to hear for people who are early career and might be in the same spot, right? Who think, okay, I'm not the best software developer on this team, right? And sometimes maybe far from it, but they know, okay, I can add a little bit of something to this team outside of just software development, right? Especially I think people coming from other careers, right? If you went through a coding boot camp or have some other type of degree, I think a lot of times people come in with other experience and it feels a little weird to be like, I'm the junior programmer, but let me try to implement this new process. But I do think often it's very useful and an easy way to be seen in kind of a different light instead of just, you know, the junior engineer. You're like, oh, someone who actually is able to bring ideas to the table and help make a positive change on the team.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. I think it's assessment case by case. Everyone should have it. And then also being able to look for a mentor. If if somebody's in early career and it's a junior software developers at a team and it's not the best developers, it's fine. You can grow in your career. You can see different systems throughout the years and then see different approach, see different design, see different technology and stacks, and then learn them. So probably that feeling of I'm not the best developer in the team would disappear over the years as you gain some experience and get more exposure to different technology. But I really, for my case, I really wanted to be involved in the leadership side of the thing. Decision making that goes into a product development process, or how do we allocate our budgets? And the budget really is the number of developers that you have on a team and the number of hours that you want to devote their time to a certain product versus a technical depth, etc. And being able to make those decisions more efficiently, or at least be involved in those decision making and move off into more like a leadership career path, a managerial career path than being an individual contributor. But there is a path for each of these have its own path. You can be able to move from a junior program manager or product manager to the engineering and vice versa. That was just the opportunity presented for me to move from more like a software engineer, junior software engineer, to the managerial role.
Yeah, so you kind of always knew you enjoyed that side of things, but then when you shifted into that consulting role and it sounds like you're much more regularly talking with lots of different types of clients, that's when you really started to think more product minded. And then obviously that startup, you kind of dove in head first, right, of doing everything.
Yeah, 100%. So I think the startup was just a coincidence that I crossed path with the CEO at the time, and I wanted to, always try to be part of a small team. It was a seed team. It was almost like a co-founding team. It started as 4 people, the CEO and the COO and another product person. And I joined the team as, the employee number 4. But the team grew, over the course of 2 years to maybe over 30 people, from the software engineers and from the, a solution architect to marketing teams and the product managers and everyone. So that was also, a lucky opportunity for me, or a coincidence that I was at, a cross path with the CEO, and I was able to get the buy-in that the product is a successful product. The idea is a successful idea, just being able to implement that and then being able to bring it to the market.
Yeah, I love it. And often, especially that early stage, that's how interviewing is, right? You kind of just have to meet someone and go, oh, wait, this actually seems interesting, right? I think it's rare that they probably didn't even have a formal interview process, right? Like a lot of times at that stage, it's a couple conversations. You're like, all right, let's do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was a couple of conversation, a couple of intro, and then we spent a couple of hours. I remember to really help the CEO understand the value prop that I can bring to his team and to his idea. Was he sent me a list of questions, and it was like, we have problem with this, we have problem with this. We want to do this migration from legacy system to AWS. We want to put our stack, choose our stack, etc. So I remember it was like a list of maybe 10 to 20 areas or questions that they're all big, and then they're all decisions that you have to put your mind into it. And then some of them are, two-way door that you can make a decision and come back later and change your decision. Some of them are not. So I spent a couple of days, putting my thought together, and then I wrote back like probably a 10 page of content that I was just saying that this is my unfiltered thoughts on how I do it, and this is my experience dealing with this, and really also be vulnerable that I've never solved this problem. At some of the question, I was like, I never encountered this problem or this question, but here's the process I go through to find a solution for it. And then we went through that for like a couple of hours. I was meeting with my CEO at the time, face to face, and it was like a incubator in Chicago, 1871. So we were going there and just meeting over the lunch and going through that, and that was like the assurance or the trust that I built, and then I joined the team after that. It was really casual conversation, and the interview process was not official. It was essentially the list of problems that the company was facing or the opportunity that we can develop our product in, and how I go through those to execute against those lists and bring the vision of the founders to reality.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And 1871 is a great place to hang out if you're interested in, joining a startup, right? You'll probably get, especially if you're technical at all, you probably get a couple offers, but if you get lunch there once or twice a week, right?
Yeah,
People are always looking for
100%.
good founders.
Yeah, for people in Chicago, it's a great place to just have an office, to have a desk, and just bumping to the people, talking about what is it that they're working on, if it's a startup or they're part of a startup. If you're after, raising money, a lot of VCs in Chicago have offices there. So it's a great place to start your career or advance your career there, for sure.
Yeah. Can you, so having just went through the interview process, can you share a little bit about what that looks like from a product standpoint? Because I don't know if myself and probably a lot of people watching, if they even really know, how does it differ, right, from what might be an engineering manager and engineering leader conversation versus a product manager conversation, right? And how those interviews actually play out. Like, I'm assuming you're not whiteboarding, right? Or at least not whiteboarding coding solutions, right?
Yeah, it doesn't involve any coding or any technical aspects of an interview that the engineer goes through or the engineer manager goes to, but there is a part that they want you to talk through a solution, more like a product oriented solution, to really capture what is your product thinking, what is your understanding of a product life cycle, etc. So to walk you through my interview process at Expedia was, the screening with the recruiter, and then it's a conversation about an hour with the hiring manager. And really the thing that was standing out to me at Expedia was that the hiring manager came forward and with probably the opportunities that are available to the team to expand and grow, and then the business value that they can bring to the whole Expedia organization, and really articulate that for me. So I understood that the value of this team, this is a core functionality, core infrastructure, product management team for the whole Expedia, very deep into the development and infrastructure and engineering service department or organization. So that was obvious for me. So he did a great job there to be able to articulate that value of the organization and the team. And then also across that, it was a set of challenges that he had. So like previously the product was a certain way, and then now they want the product to be more agile, more nimble, be able to have a greater outcome. And then also there is the area that it was, a huge amount of investment from the leadership was put into this team or this department to grow, and being able to unify all the services that Expedia provide. So And then the conversation that we had was, how do you see and feel about this opportunity that he articulated, and he wanted to capture my thoughts, and then what I see, what are the risks that you see as a product manager, and then how do you try to move the needle for each of these challenges, the set of challenges that we have. So one of the questions I got from the hiring manager was like, how do you structure a X large initiative like this to create a big Kubernetes platform for company size of Expedia, and then migrate all these services to this Kubernetes? How do you write this initiative? How do you get the buy-in from different leadership, different department, different teams into this initiative? And then how do you try to navigate through it? Because the set of requirements and the set of challenges that you have to think about, security, live traffic, the magnitude of a scale and stuff, it make it really, really crowded, really complicated set of requirements, and navigating it through, it's hard. So as the product manager, I really try to accurately give them my thought process. That first thing is, we have to acknowledge this is challenging, and as a product manager or as a team, you're gonna screw up, or we're gonna make some mistakes. But then how do we set our problem statement, and how do we present the solution to different teams? How do we work cross-functionally with the engineering to be able to get the buy-in and then bring the whole organization together? That, through that conversation, I was able to get a positive reaction from the hiring manager. At the end of the interview, he was like, okay, I'm very impressed enough by your, answer and stuff. So I want you to talk to my peer. And the focus of, the second interview was, or the third interview was like, how do I think about a product design, or what is my leadership thought process, etc. So that was the area that really I needed to go through the cycle of product management, from vision to getting the requirements, to working with engineers, and to delivering. And then after that, it was like a set of final rounds with different people, up to five rounds with different people, which either of those interviewer wanted to cover one, big value of the company. Like, one focus on the teamwork, one focus on the collaboration, one works on time management. And a lot of question there was like behavioral or situational, that how do I go for that. Didn't have any product design or whiteboarding, but for my previous, interviews and interviews at other places, the experience I had, they can either send you a assessment, that you have to handle, or they want you to do a whiteboarding session at the problem. Those questions might be, situational, or like a hypothetical, that okay, we are trying to build a competition for the Google map. And you're the product manager for that. How do you go through that? And then it's open-ended, and they want to evaluate a series of, characteristics that you have to bring to the table, and then experience that you have, or how you think about a problem, and how do you present your solution.
So it sounds like there's a kind of almost two-factor. One is more, how do you think about product? How do you approach, going from nothing to something, right? And then also there is a technical aspect, which is, okay, talk to me about the direction you would go with this problem from the technical perspective, right? Like, well, what are the types of things we might use? But they're not asking you, some Kubernetes script syntax, right? They're asking you more so, what do we need to actually do to accomplish this, right? So it seems like a really interesting way to interview, and definitely more, I would say having more people skills probably helps a lot with these interviews, right? Versus just pure technical, I'm going to bang out some code and then be done, right?
Yeah, 100%. So it's behavioral, it's the leadership skills, it's product thinking, it's collaboration and cross-functional. For a lot of interview experience I have, they also want to work on accurately maybe assessing your skills in a real job, in a day-to-day of the job.
Mm,
So how do you navigate a product that is blocked by security? How do you manage in conflict with the engineer manager? So this is a question I've been asked a couple of times. Tell me about a time that you manage a conflict with the engineer manager. And the product manager and engineer manager on a daily basis, they have probably technical disagreement, different ideas or different solution to the things. So they want to see how to navigate those. For junior developers or a person in software engineering and engineer managers, they can also think about the same thing from their point of view. Like, tell me about a time you had a conflict with a product manager, and the product manager was insisting on a set of, solutions,
mm,
but how did you resolve it, or how did you went through that conflicts and what was the outcome? And then a lot of times it's conversation about those, quote unquote negative experience at
mm.
work, conflicts, a hard product manager or hard engineer manager to deal with, saying no to people or, deprioritizing work
Yeah,
or giving a maybe constructive or maybe negative feedbacks to your counterpart. So if you can really navigate those not so great type experience on a day-to-day job, it would be a great addition to the team, because every team wants a person that fit the culture and can improve the culture. And so with those set of questions, they want to see how do you act around those type of, situation, day-to-day situations.
totally. Yeah, so you touched on this a little bit, but I was going to ask, what do you typically evaluate for when you're interviewing technical folks or product managers? You just addressed some of that, right? Like, how are you handling these types of situations? What does like cross functionality look like? Is there anything else that you're really looking for when you're interviewing folks?
Yeah, I like to ask a set of questions to give me a sense of how this product manager or this engineer manager have self-awareness.
Mm,
So it's really important for a product manager or engineer manager to be able to understand the limits of, their self-awareness, and
mm,
then really know their strength, know their weaknesses, and then being able to answer the question with, showing me that they have a sense of ownership, they take
mm,
responsibility and then own either a product features or, a piece of software or piece of, teamwork, that it's in a day-to-day operation of a team. And then with those, really I can evaluate the self-awareness. So one question I really like to evaluate the self-awareness is like, tell me about a time that, a feature development or, a software development went wrong,
mm,
and what did you do? And then so I want to, get detailed answer and what was the situation and really understand what was the action and the result. But the key point that I'm looking for is that, is this person taking ownership of a part of this product management or feature management or software development that went wrong? Is this person bringing some ownership to it?
mm,
And then what was the action that they take to be able to either resolve it or like not let it happen in the first place, or what was the lesson learned for this person at the end of this situation? So I think self-awareness is the key for every role that people are interviewing and want to go. And one thing I learned the hard way is at interviews, the more humble and the more down to earth that you are and show vulnerability, it's you build that human connection with the interviewer and be able to, pass through the interview and get the job. People don't want, egoistic type interviewee to come work for their team, join their team, but they want to really evaluate you as a human to human connection. And that self-awareness and showing vulnerability is really important to at least bring it up to an interview. If you screwed up at something, it's fine. If you have a negative experience, it's fine. Just what was the action you took and what was the lesson learned from that situation.
I sometimes cringe thinking back on when I was my prior career in recruiting. I was looking for my second recruiting job, and I was a pretty good recruiter. And I used to just go into interviews, with like 6 months to a year of experience. Just I put off an energy that I was God's gift to recruiting, right? And I could see people like look at me and they'd be like, okay, like you can tell you have the numbers, but I realized later, like I'm getting rejected because I'm just kind of being an asshole in these interviews, right? Like I'm just like talking about how great I am, not just like talking about the people that helped me become good, right? Or about the team at all. And definitely was a lesson I learned as well to realize, oh, okay, maybe a little bit more humility is going to end up with much better conversations that people might actually want to work with me. Right.
Yeah,
I'm glad
100%.
I learned that before I got into software engineering.
Yeah, in software is really important because you're dealing with, codes and things go wrong. It's not just a matter of, if it's going wrong or not. If it's just, something is going to be giving you error, you're screwing up at code, you're deleting infrastructure that you shouldn't have deleted, it's et cetera, et cetera. So having that sense of self-awareness and humility, it really goes a long way. And it's more important that for technical people and product management people, a lot of marketing teams, HR teams, finance team might learn this early on in their career because they have more human to human connection with the customers, with the different people at the company, etc. But the faster you learn that in a technical position or a product management position, the further you can go, and then you see the result of that very, very soon in your career, that you build that human to human connection, and you're just bringing humility and a sense of self-awareness to the conversation, to your day to day. That's exactly what interviewer is looking for. That's exactly what hiring manager is looking for, to build that trust and connection to bring you on board in their team.
Yeah, and I think the need, and I don't know, the bigger percentage that you have to have that increases as you become more and more senior, right? You can probably get to a senior, maybe even a lead developer role without having a ton of that. But if you're moving into management, you're moving into, any type of director level roles, and your job becomes really more interacting with people than it does code. Like that's so much more critical than, you could be an okay developer and not have a ton of those skills, but if you want to continue to move up, I think that's honestly just as important, if not more important, than the technical side of things often.
Yeah, I think soft skills is very important in that sense of vulnerability. It's the more important when you grow up to the management position, leadership position. I think for director roles and VP roles, VP of engineering or IT, they only focus on those time. How do you manage a disaster, a technical disaster, IT crisis? And what did you do to give your people a sense of authority or autonomy to make decisions and make mistakes and learn from those mistakes? So a lot of those a higher position into leadership, senior engineer, manager, etc. It's just being able to navigate through the, uncharted territory and navigate it through storms that
Yeah.
happens in bigger organization, or navigating through a situation that a startup or smaller companies facing for the first time. So it's really important to nail down those situation and action and the result that you were involved in a negative situation. Again, it's conflict, it's saying no, it's missing a deadline, is breaking an important, set of infrastructure, or screwing up a piece of software that's really important to customers. What did you do, and what was the result, and what was the lesson learned? That now, for those lesson learned and experience, we want you to come on board, join our company, and then help us navigate those situations. Because business and software development and product management is not all rosy and gold and sunny days and sunshine. It's a lot of problems and challenges and conflict and competing priorities that you have to really maneuver through, and then bring your team through those situations.
Yeah, before I was ever a manager, and this was in my recruiting career, I always thought I wanted to be a manager, and then I became a manager, and I went, I don't know if I love it so much, right? Because there's a lot of things that I did not realize as a part of the job that quickly, eats up more and more of the time, right? And I think it's a good experience for folks to go into that and realize either, okay, I love this, right, or I don't. And I think it's totally okay to go between the two, right? Like something that's more individual contributor focused, or, I'm realizing, oh, this is my calling. I think
Yeah.
and especially in engineering, I think there should be more movement. You see it sometimes at companies, right? People go into the management level and then back to an individual contributor. But I think that should be almost every manager should be a 6 month or a 1 year trial, right? Like, do you actually enjoy this? Do you actually like this or not? I think it would help.
Trying that gives them a vision and the perspective from the other side. If you are not happy with the decision that your manager makes, or are constantly in conflict with what your manager is trying to do or trying to achieve, etc., as a software engineer or product manager, if the opportunity show itself to you, you should be able to move to that managerial role and understand it from that perspective. And that was really one thing that helped me to have both perspective as an individual contributor software engineer, as well as a manager, to get those different perspective in one team and be able to see different aspects of the work that needs to be done. And that really helps. And then trying different jobs, trying to get involved in different projects or different collaboration, it really help as well to maybe increase the breadth of your understanding and increase the different area that you touch. So if for an engineer manager or for a software engineer, there's opportunity to work with a corp software, corporation software, HR software, core functionality in the IT and corporation, it's a great opportunity to see those perspective and understand those layers of software a lot better than just, trying to work on the front line, delivering features for customers or delivering features for a website or mobile app. So going deep into the different area give you a level of expertise, but also going to work with different teams or different position give you a breadth. So it's always like a T. You want to have a T that has a long depth. You're expert in one area. You have the skills that a technology stack or like a software stack in, and then work with the team, but also had the opportunity to work with other teams and increase the top of the T to have more breadth and maybe a couple of depth into different areas. That's really a valuable, and then it takes time to build that T. You know what I mean? to increase the breadth and to increase the depth of your knowledge and its skills. It's really important to think about it that way.
Thank you for watching the first half of the Professional Technical Interviewee. The technical interview will be released 1 week from this episode, so be sure to subscribe to make sure you don't miss it. New episodes are released on the first 4 Thursdays of each month. Find us on YouTube at youtube.com/Taylor Dorsett or on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes. And remember, keep practicing.